Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we'll add GameStates to our game, or at least the start of it. Buttons and that will come later. We also need to clean up our code a bit in order for this to work. I also wish to thank Yusib for supporting with a coffee. Thank you very much. And just a quick update, I mentioned on my recent community post that I got hit by a car. La 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 la, yeah, na 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 na. Oof. And yesterday I visited the doctor's office and had it x-rayed. Gladly, nothing is broken, so that's good. A bit swollen though, and I can't move around very easily. It's a great excuse to stay home and play video games all day. Or to work on this tutorial. I just want to give you a quick update. Before we start, this channel have a Discord server where you can discuss and ask questions about the tutorials of this channel. Or maybe you just want to swing by and say hello. We will also use GitHub throughout this tutorial. There you can check the most recent code, but also code from previous episodes. That comes in handy when something works differently on your side compared to what you see in the episode. And for the people that want to go the extra mile to support the channel, there is a Buy Me a Coffee page and also a membership option on YouTube with some basic perks. With that being said, let's get back to the episode. Last episode, we didn't add much of new stuff. We mostly changed how the code is structured around enemies and the player. We added a base class called Entities. This is the superclass for all entities in the game. Objects, enemies, and the player will all use this superclass of superclasses, or maybe the king class. There's probably a name for it, but it will be at the top, and this one will be the base for all type of entities in the game. It will also store the most general information, such as position. As we go down the hierarchy, we're gonna get more specific, until we reach the player, or skeleton class for example. That pretty much sums up our last episode. Let's start a new one. As we get more stuff into the game, it will be very important to keep the code we add in relevant places. Not just that, but we also need to make it easy to add or update our code. One way to do this is by using something called GameStates. Examples of GameStates can be the menu, our playing scene, options menu, pause menu, and so on. This allows us to keep all the code we need for the menu in a menu class, and then we set our game state to menu, and we will only update and render what we have in that class. We will use enum to handle this. Let's begin. We can probably start by making our new package for all our game states. For this episode, it doesn't really matter too much where we start. We're gonna create a game class, for example. We're gonna change up a lot of code in a few classes, so we need to start somewhere. So let's go ahead and just make our new game state classes. So first, let's make a package. And this package we can call GameStates, and it's a fitting name. In this package, we will have the menu, because we will have a menu, main menu when you load into the game. We will have a playing, and the playing will be when we are in the menu and then we click play, we go to the playing. So we switch state to the playing, so all the code that is for the playing will be in the playing class. These two classes now will have a couple of methods that will be the same. They will both have a render, they will both have a update, and they will also handle inputs differently. So for example, the input we have right now in our game, that is all for the playing class. And if we're in the menu, we didn't want to check stuff in the playing, so on and so on. So we just want to separate all the touch movements for the menu in the menu class and the same for the playing. So the easiest way to do this is to create interfaces. So let's go into our interface package here. New interface, and we can call this game state interface. Simple name. And as I said, we will have update, and I think it's a double delta since we use that for our update. Then we need a void, we can call it render. Render, draw, whatever it's named, it's the same. It's just sometimes I call it render, sometimes I call it draw. And canvas, and we can call it C. canvas C. Then we need to import that class. And the last method that will be needed is a touch events. And I think it's a motion event, yes, E, or event. And we will use a interface here instead of a superclass, because we do need the same methods, but the methods will do differently in each class. So interface is the way to go. And we will also have a superclass, but we're going to get to that a little bit later. So menu, not extends, implements, GameStates, interface, and then implement the methods. Okay. And we can do the same in playing. Implements, GameState interface, implement. Alright. For our menu in this episode, it's going to be very, very simple. It's just going to be a blank screen when you start the game, and it's going to say menu, so we know that we are in the menu class and the menu state. And as soon as we click somewhere on the screen, we go over to the playing state right away. So we need a constructor here with a bit of code, so public menu. We are going to need a paint here, so private paint, paint, we can call it. Oops. And we need to import that class, and paint equals new paint. Alright, paint dot set text size. I think we're gonna try 60, and we're gonna set paint dot set color dot white, because the background is going to be black. And then in our render here, all we need is a c.draw text menu and position 1920, so let's just say 800 and then 200 down, and of course paint. And so if we do start the game with the menu state active, we're gonna see menu on our screen. But we're not there yet, we don't have any game state right now, we just have the classes. If we head over to our playing, which is gonna be where most of our code goes into today, we are going to need a constructor here as well. So public playing, and we can start like that. In our game panel, which is where we have pretty much all our code, most of this code needs to go into our playing class. So we can minimize that for now and go check here. And we should only have code related to the game panel in the game panel class, because right now this is both our game panel, our playing, and our inputs, and so on. So we're gonna move a lot of this code from game panel to playing and other classes. But we can start with the actual playing stuff. So for render, we will need the map manager, the touch event we want to draw for this class. We want the player, we want the skeleton, and this is not related to the playing. So this, or rather this, is what we're gonna take. So we're gonna copy, move that to our render here. We're gonna get a lot of errors, so we need to go over them one by one. You can actually put playing here or panel there. For our methods here, we're gonna take those two, comment that out, add them right underneath here. For our update player move, player update, skeleton, map manager. Yes, we're gonna take all of them to our update. There's our update. Update the player move. So let's just take this entire method, comment it out, put it maybe there. On touch event, we're actually going to remove this input package with the touch event, because we're doing it a bit different than we did in the platformer tutorial, which I didn't really think about when I made that. But that's alright. We do want these two, and we're gonna put them right about here. Start game loop, we're gonna keep. On touch event, we cannot leave. Gonna check here, update, color blend, and the constructor, paint, touch events, Gameloop. We can take all of these, go up to our constructor. We can of course comment them out. Red paint, yes, we do need that, because we're gonna draw the UI in here, so we need that. We're gonna hold off with the holder, the surface holder here, and also the touch events. But now we have a few grayed out here, so we're gonna take all of them. Control C, and hiding that, and placing it there. The paint, commenting that out. And these three, commented out. And there we go. Oh, we're not gonna take the game loop. The game loop is not gonna be in the playing, so we can take that away. Or replay or get it back here. Where's the game loop? There's the game loop. Because it's not gonna be in here. It's not gonna be in the playing class. I think that's better. We have some errors here for render. We have touch events. Alright, I think that's good. Now we can just go ahead and delete all of the uncomment one. I like to comment out the text I need to remove or change just in case something goes wrong. The render, these two methods, the update, all of that, these two methods. Alright, I think that's good for now. We're gonna go ahead and create our game class now. That will be the class where all the different states are talking in, and well, where we actually have our game. Whereas right now our game panel class here, where our jack of all trades, it had everything, so there was just a big mess. So the game panel will only care for, you know, the surface view, where the input starts and so on. There were very little code in there. And our game loop, for example, is only taking care of the game loop stuff and so on. And our main activity is where, well, everything starts. So our actual game class now will be the class where all the game related code have the brains of everything. So we're gonna keep all our main classes first in a package called main. Might be nice to have. So I'm just gonna copy all of these, or move all of these into the main package, and then refactor. And in the main package we're gonna have the actual game class, so game. And we can minimize that, we can remove that for now. And this game class will hold the starting position for where all the rendering goes, the update goes, the touch events goes, etc. So for example, our game panel now start the touch event here, but we're gonna say return game.touchEvents, and then game takes care of everything else. Render and update will not start here. They will start in the game class. So we're just gonna create the game class in our game panel. We can do that right now actually. Private game. And in here, underneath our callback there, we're gonna say game equals new game. And game is gonna need this surface holder. So holder, we're gonna send in, I'm gonna get an error because our constructor doesn't exist. So public game surface holder. This is to allow us to start the rendering process in this class. So we need to store this holder somehow. So private surface holder, and then this dot holder equals holder. All right. This game is gonna hold the classes for all states. So private menu, private playing. And I have to Alt enter. Is there more? Okay, make sure you take the correct menu, our class, and not android.view. And then we say menu equals new menu, playing equals new playing. Actually, we might get more state, so init GameStates. And then just move those into that method. Alright, so in here we're gonna have our public void update double delta. We are going to need our public void render. And this render is not asking for a canvas because we're gonna create the canvas in here with our surface holder that we asked for. So we can go to our game panel and copy this, remove it, because we're not going to use render in here. And we're not going to use update, so we might as well remove that too. So canvas, get canvas, or lock canvas, draw the color, and here we have draw the game, and then we have to unlock and post the canvas. Alright, so what's next? We need our game states. So at the bottom here, we're gonna have a public enum game state. And we're gonna have a playing, or rather we can start with menu, and then playing. And that's it. So whenever we want to change or set a different game state, we're using game.setGameState or game.isItThisGameState, etc. To do that, we are going to go up here, minimize that, and have the actual game state here. So private game state current game state. And we're going to set it to equal GameState.menu. So it's private, so it's only this class that can change it, so we need some getters and setters to handle that. So public game state get current game state, public set current game state. Alright, that looks good. So not any class in the game will be able to change the game state, only those that takes in the game class in their constructor, which is what we're gonna do right now. And for that, we're gonna go into our game states here and add a new class, and we're gonna call it base class. No, not base class, but base state. And that is the superclass for all different game states. And it will be very, very simple. It will have a constructor, base state, and ask for game, and we're gonna import it, and we're gonna store it, private game. Maybe we should make it protected. Yeah, let's make it protected. Protected game, and then say this dot game equals game. And we might as well just public abstract class, because you shouldn't be able to use base state. You need some class that extends it. And of course we need a getter. So public game get game. We're probably going to need a getter for game in all our states. So return game. Alright, then go into our playing, for example. Playing extends base state. Now we're going to get a little error here. Insert super, and then super game, and we pass game, not game, but game. Gonna copy that because I'm gonna need to do that again. Menus over here, and then super game, and extends base state. And need to import the class. There we go. So now both our menu and playing will get the game, so we can call game for changing the state or checking something else. Now we can go back to our game class here, and we have an update and we have a draw or render. And oh, we need to give the game states this. No errors. All right, you happy? And in our update, we're gonna add a switch, and we're gonna switch current game state, case, maybe I can even, more actions, yep, there we go, could add them both. But we can remove the brackets because we don't need that. For menu, we go menu.update and then pass in delta. Playing, we go, of course, playing.update and pass in the delta. And for draw, we're gonna do exactly the same. Switch current game state and more actions, create missing branches, menu and playing. Beautiful. For menu, we do menu.render, playing.render C. All right, looking good. All right, so in our game panel, we have this return touch events, but we are actually going to, let's comment that out for now. Return game.touch event. And it doesn't exist in the game class, so we're just gonna say create the method and we jump over here right away. And guess what? We're gonna do the same switch in our touch event, but instead of saying render, we're gonna say menu.touch event touch event. So we are bypassing this entire class and even package, so we're gonna remove that before the end of this episode. And for our touch event, just say return true. All right, I think that's good for our game class for now. Let's handle some of the inputs. Since we're going to remove the touch event class, we're gonna move this code into the playing class because this is handling the inputs for, well, when you are playing. So we're gonna take all of this except the game panel there into our playing. We can say for UI, we are going to draw this now in our render here. So we can remove the touch events and we can say draw UI and pass in the canvas and then create this method. In touch event, we have a draw, this circle. We can skip the triangle, so we can just take the circle. We can comment that out, and we can comment that out that I forgot to do. And play, and just pass that in. All right. For touch event, all of this, we don't need a return true. Comment that out. Playing should have a touch event right there. All right, perfect. Now we can go ahead and delete the first, we can delete the class or the package. Delete directory inputs, all files, delete. Now it's gone. Perfect. So we get some errors in here in the playing. So we just say set player move true and set player move false. Let's go to our game loop and see. We got some errors here because we don't have update or render in our game panel now. Those are in the game class right here. Here is the start of render and here is the start of update. So we're gonna move our game loop from the game panel into our game here. And let's see, game panel. Touch event doesn't exist, so we can just remove that right away. We'll take that one. Go to game loop. And game loop gets an error because it requests a game panel. But we want to ask for a game class instead, or the game class instead. And then say this.game equals game, and then game. And we're gonna something like that. Perfect. And then change game panel here to game. Okay, there. Alright, I think that looks good. No errors. Game panel got some errors. What's up? Oh, Gameloop, or yeah, Gameloop.start Gameloop. No, but game.start Gameloop, so we need that method. And it's just gonna say Gameloop.start Gameloop. So our game panel now looks much cleaner. We can remove that. So now we can remove a few imports here as well. Alright, looking good. So all we have in here now is to create the surface holder and the game class, do something with that, and then the inputs for our untouch event. And then we start the game loop, because on surface created, that's when we want to start the actual game loop. So game panel is looking fine. We can close that down. Can close that one down too. Base state, game, might go back, entity, really don't need that. Game loop, we are also done with. So let's see if we can start this now. So let's see what happens. Running the app. Install, looks good. And it just says menu. And that is because in our game, our starting state is menu. And depending on which state we're in, we're now updating the menu and we are drawing the menu. And we also have the untouch event or touch event for menu. And in here, we have nothing. So if I click, nothing happens. So that is something we're gonna deal with. And since we want to keep this as simple as possible, we're just gonna say game.set current game state, GameState.playing. So when I click the screen, we go into the playing. So let's see if that works. All right, 3, 2, 1, and error. That's always fun. Let's see what it is. Paint, something with paint. Null pointer, meaning it did not get initialized. We declared it, but it didn't get initialized. So what's going on? Which paint is it? Well, those two. And all right, those two. We don't need yellow paint, but we do need circle paint. Since we don't use red paint, we can actually remove that and just say circle paint. Circle paint equals new paint. Circle paint set to color red. Circle paint dot set stroke width, and what was it? 5. And we also had to set circle paint dot set style, which was paint dot paint dot style dot stroke. And now I think we don't have any errors. Let's see. We're starting in menu, switching over to playing, and there we go. Inputs work, and we remove this triangle because we really don't need it anymore. We can always add it later. Yeah, looking good. Now, if I want to go back to menu, you might have like a pause button or something. But for our sake, let's make something simple. If I'm not starting inside the circle, I go back to menu. Let's make that rule. So, event down. If we are less than radius, then else. Game.set current state, game state, menu. So if we are inside the radius, we do the normal moving around. If we're not, we're switching to menu, so we can go back and forth and so on. All right, start it up. Clicking inside, start moving around, letting go, clicking. Is it down? And this is up, maybe. Or any type of event. Oh, that's why it's... because I'm pressing down, releasing. That's two different events. but in our menu, no matter what type of event it is, we're going to play. So we can just check if event dot is get action equals, what was it? Move action down. Copy that. Then we switch. So let's try this again. Menu, down, released, moving around like normal, letting go, pressing down, letting go, pressing down. Beautiful. And when I'm now in the menu, the playing state is not updating, so the skeletons isn't running around. We don't have to spend any type of processing power into keeping those guys moving. So as soon as I go back, the skeleton starts where they last were. So yeah, this is looking really good. We're almost done with this episode, but let's go ahead and just clean it up a little bit. So for example, our game here can be final. We're never gonna change that. And it says that holder can also be final, but we're gonna remove holder here and place it there. Private surface holder equals get holder, and then we pass in. So we don't need to have it up here. We just need to send it to game. Phew, that was a lot of code we moved around and changed. Glad we're done with that. For now. It was required though, because going forward we need to keep the code as clean and relevant in each class as possible. Makes it a lot easier for us to read it and of course update it as we code along. Next episode we will start with our custom buttons for, well, our menu for example. That will be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for watching, and if you learned something, hit that subscribe and like button. More videos to come. Until the next episode, take care now and have a great day. Bye.